Hello, I'm Finlay and you're watching the Run For It YouTube channel. In this episode, we're going to be talking through the brand new Brooks Glycerin 21 franchise. We're going to be discussing what's changed in the Glycerin 21 and the Glycerin GTS 21 and how they feel to run in. In case you're unsure, GTS stands for Go-To Support. And while these models are almost identical, the GTS version features Brooks's GuideRails support system, which offers more support and structure than the neutral model. So what are the changes to the new Brooks Glycerin 21 franchise models? Well, there's actually no significant updates to them, which is good news if you're a fan of the previous versions, because that means you'll be able to transition into the new ones with relative ease. I think you'll agree that the updates to how they look are great, especially around the midsole here at the top, and that's where actually a key change to the Glycerin franchise is, because both the Glycerin and the Glycerin GTS feature 2mm more of Brooks's nitrogen-infused DNA LOFT V3 cushioning, and that simply means that there's more cushioning under your feet, so that should result in more comfort. If you're wondering, the stack height is now a 28mm high heel and an 18mm high forefoot. There's also some changes to the upper and the outsole. The upper features a new engineered warp knit upper, and this breathable fabric delivers a really soft and yet accommodating fit across the top of the foot. There's also a new RoadTack rubber on the outsole, so this is a lightweight and durable material. It also features recycled silica in it, and the entire recycled content in the shoes is equivalent to 5 plastic water bottles. So how does the new cushioning feel to run in? Well, Brooks supplied us with a pair so we could test them out for this review. So these are my ones. I normally run in neutral running shoes, so I've been testing the normal Glycerin, which is why you can see some wear on the bottom of these ones. That's why I didn't run in the GTS version. In terms of how this new midsole feels, I think the best way to describe it is that it feels very balanced under the foot. And yes, they are soft, but they're not quite as soft as some of the other options out there, that some shoes now that feel ultra spongy under your feet. And while the Glycerin don't necessarily feel like that, the benefit of the slight responsiveness to the foam is that it feels very stable and very supportive under your feet. And that's sometimes the trade-off with some of these really kind of ultra spongy shoes, is they don't feel as inherently stable under your feet when you're running. I think protection is a very good word to also summarize how the cushioning feels. When you land, you really don't feel the ground under your feet, and as a result, you can just forget about your feet, focus on your effort, and enjoy your run. I've been testing these out over a range of paces and distances, so I've been doing some slow runs in them, some steady efforts, and for me, I really found that the cushioning feels at its best on those easy effort runs when you're running at the slower paces, and that's really just because the cushioning feels so comfortable under your feet, so you can really just forget about your feet and your legs when you're on that type of effort. And yes, there is some responsiveness to the foam that does perform if you do want to pick up the pace and go at a steadier effort, but for me, I would really recommend using these on those easier effort days. In terms of how the Glycerin fit, the midfoot feels very secure and supportive, which I wasn't expecting. I was quite surprised by how supportive that is. So if you like that secure fit around the midfoot area, then you're going to really like these. At the same time, the forefoot area feels very spacious and accommodating in the toe box there. So if you have broad feet at the front of the foot, then these should also suit your foot shape. What I would say is when I first put them on, I actually found the forefoot quite neat. It was kind of not feeling constrictive, but it definitely felt relatively tight. But after kind of 1-2 runs, it really loosened off. So I would say is don't be put off if you put them on and you feel like they're a little bit snug across the front of the feet. In terms of this new warp knit fabric, it's unbelievably soft on the feet, so it really is comfortable. It's very impressive material. There's also virtually no seams in the upper, which is amazing for reducing friction and rubbing on the feet. So if you're a runner who is prone to blisters around their toes, or you're worried about that, then this upper design is going to be a really good choice for you. Additionally, there's really nice padding around the heel counter here, so this really soft plush material feels extremely comfortable. There's also padding on the top of the tongue here, which is great at reducing lace pressure. So overall, this new upper feels incredibly comfortable, really soft, but really supportive at the same time. So what are the differences between the Glycerin and Glycerin GTS, and how do you know which ones are going to be right for you? Well, we mentioned earlier that the two models are almost identical, and this is true. They feature the same cushioning, they feature the same upper, but there's one key difference, that guide rail support. And if we look at the Glycerin GTS here, you can see on the lateral side how this foam is rising up the side, and this is one part of the guide rail support where this bit is actually the same density as foam as the midsole. Whereas on the inside, you can see this different section of the guide rail support system where this is actually firmer than the rest of the midsole. So this guide rail support system is designed to work with your body's natural biomechanics, your natural gait cycle, but critically it helps keep excess motion in check. So if your feet are starting to pronate in slightly more, it can help stabilize your feet and your ankle joint. But most importantly, this guide rail system is very good at reducing internal knee rotation. Why do we want to reduce internal knee rotation then? Well, internal knee rotation can be a significant contributing factor towards knee discomfort and pain, particularly if there's high levels of it. It can also start to affect the hip area as well. So if you're getting knee discomfort and problems when you're running, there's a high chance that's a contributing factor. And while there's other things involved in that too, we know that this guide rail support system is very good at helping keep that in check. So this style of support should be a very good option for you if that's what you're prone to. And building on this, a lot of runners experience discomfort around their knee and around their hip area in the latter stages of runs, particularly in their long runs. And this is simply because you're getting tired and your form is worsening, and as a result your biomechanics are starting to suffer. And this is where that guide rail support system can be really beneficial, because when your feet are moving in a more stable manner, or your legs are moving in a more stable manner, the support system won't actually inhibit you. However, when you do need that extra structure, it will kick in and keep everything a little bit more in check. However, it's worth noting that the GTS version are heavier than the standard version because that guide rail support system adds a little bit weight to the shoes. So if you are a neutral runner and you don't need that extra stability, then you're probably not worth opting for that one. And I'd also like to point out that the Glycerin are very stable neutral running shoes, and they very much sit on the supportive end of the scale. And that comes down to the fact that there's a really broad base, so that creates a lot of inherent stability. Also the fact that the way this crash pad's designed, because there's so much cushioning on the lateral edge here and it's nice and soft, this really helps to slow down the speed of pronation. So if you think about it, if you're running in firmer running shoes, then when you land, that can actually encourage the foot to roll through faster, and as a result, the working muscles go through a little bit more stress. Whereas in slightly softer shoes, they'll hold the foot on the outside for slightly longer, slow down the speed of pronation. That will reduce the stress that's going through your working muscles, and that can also in turn reduce the amount of rotation that's happening through your knee and through your hip joint. So the Glycerin are still very supportive neutral running shoes. To clarify then, if you're looking for neutral running shoes, then you want to go with the Glycerin. But if you've been previously fitted with stability running shoes, or you really are prone to knee and hip irritations, then you probably want to be opting for the GTS version. If you want to know how the Glycerin franchise compares to the popular Ghost and Adrenaline GTS, you can check out our full video on that. But as a short summary, the Glycerin is essentially a more cushioned version of the Ghost, and the Glycerin GTS is essentially a more cushioned version of the Adrenaline GTS. So if you're looking for that max protection, ultimate in comfort, then you definitely want to be opting for the Glycerin franchise. However, if you're looking for still a very protective but slightly more responsive underfoot sensation for slightly steadier pace running, then that's where the Ghost or the Adrenaline are likely to be the better choice. And that brings me to the end of this Brooks Glycerin 21 franchise review. To summarise, if you're looking for max protection and comfort for your everyday miles and longer distances, these are going to be a great option. Thank you very much for watching. We hope you enjoyed this episode. Please make sure and hit that like button if you did, and subscribe to the channel for more content like this. See you soon.